The next thing you need to do, step 3, is to take a self-inventory. And the Vital Vocation programme that I've designed and that is available to you is very much about that. It's about taking a self-inventory, about where your talents and your skills lie, what are your values, what is it you want to be able to support in your work, and what kind of working environment do you want to work in. You know, if you're out of work and you're going to be faced with looking for a new job, obviously it makes sense to try and make sure that the job that you get is the best one for you. But the other thing you might need to do is get some immediate income coming in. So as well as taking a self-inventory, don't shy away from some practical steps like registering with temp agencies. You might need to do some temporary work. You might need to apply for some part-time jobs in the interim. You might want to consider doing something like volunteering until you find work in order to build up your skills. There are lots of other options that are open to you. Is now the time for you to consider going freelance, for example, or going into business with other ex-colleagues. So what I'd like you to do for this step is to make a list of all of the things that you could potentially do based on your abilities and your skills and the resources that you've got available, your talents and the things that you've learned. Make a note of all the things you could do and don't hold back. You know, you've got an opportunity now to think quite creatively about what your next step will be. And some of those next steps will be practical things like, you know, get the job paper tomorrow and start looking through it. So don't feel that this is all pie in the sky, but don't restrict yourself. The fourth step in your emergency job loss action plan is to update your CV. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that I don't believe that CVs are necessarily the best way of helping you find a job. I think if you're going to have a CV and you just fire it out randomly to lots of employers, you might not get much of a response. But it is important to have a CV that you can then tailor for different job applications. So make sure you've got a template CV that you've updated with your most recent skills, and the chances are, if you haven't looked at it for a while, even a short while, you'll find that in recent weeks and months you've probably developed some new skills and achievements that you haven't got on there. So make sure that you capture those, but if you're using your CV to apply for a job, make sure you tailor it for the job that you're applying for. Don't just send a blanket CV to everyone. Fifth step, your contacts. It's important here to not become isolated. There can be a tendency when we lose our jobs, to retreat into ourselves, to become very isolated and very scared. I can understand why you might feel like doing that, but it's important that you don't. It's important that you don't burn your existing bridges in terms of contacts, and it's also important that you build some new ones. So I would suggest that unless you've left your previous employer on very bad terms, and that may well be the case, but if you haven't, if it's a simple case of you've just lost your job, I would suggest that you write to your employer as soon as you feel able. Write to your manager or to the HR manager or whoever you think appropriate, thanking them for the opportunity of the job that you had, saying how much you enjoyed it and how much you learned from it, and you know, if you feel able, you may want to say something like you would very much welcome the chance of looking at future opportunities with them. Now, that might not feel comfortable to you at the moment, but for some of you it won't be a problem, and I would encourage you, if you can do it, to do it. You might be surprised. Many employers have to lay people off simply because of financial pressures, and they regret having to lose those people. It may well be that you're in that situation, and it's important that you don't give the impression to your employer that you want nothing more to do with them, because it may well be that an opportunity will come up in the future. So that's the first part of that step. Make sure you don't burn the old bridges. And the second part, and step 6 of your action plan, is to build some new bridges in your contacts. So I would encourage you to start making contact with other job seekers and career changers. Join a job club if you need to. Go on the internet, find out where these people hang out, start sharing information, start sharing your stories. It's far better to have a troop of people out there, all of whom are aware of the fact that you're looking for a job, because what you'll find is that if they see something suitable, they may well pass it on to you. So try and build some new bridges, and you'll find that you will have people directing you to job opportunities more than you ever would have thought possible. And the seventh and final step is you need to take action. So armed with your refreshed CV, your refreshed self-knowledge, your network of contacts that you're building up, and hopefully you're feeling a bit calmer now, you need to start the process of finding new work.